All right, welcome to the rose garden of the Niagara Parks Botanical Gardens. Today I'd like to demonstrate for you how to prune rose in spring. These roses have been hilled up since last fall to protect them from the winter cold. So first thing we're going to have to do is unhill these, and then we're going to get to pruning. Before we begin doing any of that, let's talk about safety. You can notice that I've got gloves on. We're going to need gloves to protect us from the thorns on the rose canes. I've got safety boots, which might seem like overkill, but you do not want to step on any thorns. And an important part too is wearing safety goggles. As we start to prune these, sometimes pieces can fly off. Also, we might inadvertently poke ourselves in the eye by cutting one back, so safety glasses are going to be a very important part of what we're doing. As far as unhilling the rose, you can use some pretty basic tools. We've got a wooden stake, we've got a weeder. We're going to basically get in here. You can use a trowel as well. We want to just get in here, remove the soil from around the crown. It had all been scraped up from around the edges of it back in the fall, and it has worked as a nice protection for the rose. You can see where the rose canes are actually green and alive versus where the brown the winter has sort of killed them off. So we're getting in here gently, gingerly, removing soil. We want to be careful throughout this process not to damage some of the buds that are going to be emerging on these plants. So a lot of it's coming out. We don't have to get all of it. We can finish it off as we sort of progress here. And we've reached a point now where we can actually begin to consider pruning. So pruning, we're going to prune for a number of reasons. One of the most important things with roses is we want to prune to keep them an open plant, nice structure for good air circulation. This is going to help to prevent some of the diseases that roses are prone to getting. We're going to prune them so that we can bring them down to scale. We're going to also remove anything that's dead, diseased, or interfering. So some of these plants don't have a lot of growth on them. It depends on how severe the winter was. This one's not too bad. We're going to end up with a pretty decent amount of canes. So let's start. And again, we're going to take safety as a precaution, safety for the plants this time, and we're going to spray with a disinfectant. And this is going to help to reduce the chance of us passing disease from one plant to the next. So I've sprayed it with an alcohol-based disinfectant. Now I'm going to begin to start removing certain canes. Anything that's in the middle of the plant towards the center of the plant has to go. So here we've got a cane. I'm going to try and cut this down nice and low and flush to the crown of the plant. And we've got, ideally with the cane size, we want to choose things that are going to be no larger than the size of your thumb, no smaller than the size of your pinky finger. So anything that's as small as this, for instance, it has to go. So again, I'm going to clear back a bit of soil so I can see where the origin point is, and I'm going to cut that back. It involves a lot of moving around the plant. There that one goes. We're going to try to end up with about 5 canes on a plant. Might not always get 5. We're going to see how many we can salvage here. So this one's facing inward. It's going to have to go. We prune that one back, take it out of flesh. This one's going to go, and it's going to leave us one decent cane to work with out in this section of the plant. Okay? We'll cut that back in a moment. Over here, again, we're going to look for probably 1 or 2 canes in this region that will allow us to form the plant that's going to grow this summer. A couple other reasons for pruning roses. It helps to make the flowers larger, and it also increases the vigor of the rose. The harder you prune back a rose, the more it grows. So let's have a look at removing this one here. The 3 canes that we can see here are really kind of close together, so we wouldn't want to leave them all together. They would grow, become quite bushy, and again it would create sort of an airflow situation that's not ideal. So now we've got 2 that we're pretty happy with, and maybe we can take a 3rd one here. I'll take this one off. We're going to work with this guy. This one is a dead small cane facing the center of the plant. It goes. And we've got now a little bit more soil we can remove from the crown. We've got 1, 2, 3. Let's look at keeping this one. Let's look at keeping this one. So this one in the middle, again, is pretty close to the two of them. It's going to go. Cut it off nice and flush. Carefully put it over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, we're going to take it right off. All right. So now we've ended up with a rose with 5 canes, which is an ideal number. You can see that the tips of these rose canes have died off from the winter. That's okay. We've got lots of growth down here. I'm going to try and choose wherever I can an outward facing bud. Count up 3 to 5 buds. Now the time of year we're pruning right now is April, and they're just beginning. It's a late spring this year, so they're just starting to push a little bit. So the buds are barely swollen. It's hard to see them in some cases. Where we're going to prune is at a node, if we can see it, or a bud. So we're going to take it off right here, and a bud will likely break there and begin to grow. There's a bit of one emerging right here. We're going to take it back about 1/4 inch above where the bud's forming. We've got an outward bud right here. You'll notice that the cane height's very little bit. That's okay. They'll even out as they start to grow in the next month or two. Again, we've got lots of dieback, no visible bud, but I can see signs of a node. I'm going to take it back to that node, and I'm going to take it back to this node. Now in the end, we've ended up with a decent plant. The crown is exposed. We're going to have to do a little bit of leveling once this whole bed is done to get it all nice and even. But the majority of the soil has been removed nicely. I'm left with a little bit of old crown here that I may actually lop off, and I've got an example of a cane that I cut off that's not flush. So now that I can see it better, I'm going to remove that as well. And let's get our loppers for a moment. And don't forget with the loppers, or if you're using a saw, again, you're going to have to treat these. And we do this on each plant that we do, just to make sure we're not carrying over anything from plant to plant. So I'll be careful here not to damage the bark on the good cane. So I'm going to hook my secateurs in and around the crown. I've got to get a good angle on this. And we're going to remove some of this crown. Where can I get it best? I'm going to move over this side. And we'll get it in. Take some of this one off first. It's in the way of my cut. There we go. You can see some of that old crown now. We'll take this one off. Right about here. And here. Okay, some of the crown is rotten. You can see how old and dead that is. This one's still very much alive. And it will start the healing process now as the plant starts to grow as the season continues. We can take a little bit more off right here. Okay. So we finished the plant. Pretty happy with the fact that we've got 5 canes, something to build on. As the season grows now, this is going to become a very bushy plant with nice open air circulation, produce large flowers, and exactly what we're looking for. Last part of the demonstration, we're going to clean up. So all of these rose canes, everything, we're going to put them into a wheelbarrow, and we're either going to burn those or we're going to put them somewhere where they can't infect any roses. So we're not going to mulch those. So let's make sure we dispose of those properly.